I'm in Tainan in Taiwan, the city where I've lived the last 10 years, and behind me is the district court. A lot of people don't know about the ESL market problems in Taiwan. It's very difficult. For example, a Chinese American can't really get an English teaching job in Taiwan because the culture thinks that only a white face can teach English well. So if you're black and you want to get a job teaching English in Taiwan, good luck. The problem is the government doesn't do anything to educate the people about that. There's so much in the ESL market in Taiwan that's it's like this big dark secret. They don't address the problem. Now, I've been here 10 years, and the story that I have happened, I mean, a lot of the horrors of that happened 10 years ago, but then some stuff just happened within the last week. I haven't seen any change. I didn't want to complain about it at first because I didn't want to be a whiner. I didn't want to go into another country and act like I'm the American expert. I wanted to wait a while. It's been 10 years, and I think that now it's okay for me to finally say something, because if no one talks about this, when is the problem actually going to get solved? When I first came to Taiwan, my first boss tried to take my work permit from me. He said I couldn't have it. He wouldn't give it to me. The government gives a work permit to the employer and then just expects the employer to give it to the foreign worker. And if the foreign worker doesn't have it, then the foreign worker is a criminal and then has a criminal record. Oh, welcome to Taiwan. Well, I managed to get the work permit away from my boss. I went home and cried. There's actually a little bit of an interesting story about that. My next employer never did give me my work permit. I called Taiwan's government and said, my employer won't give me my work permit on the phone, and immigration said to me on the phone, they have to give you the work permit, and then hung up the phone, and that was it. It's a do-nothing government. Now, because I didn't have my work permit from that first year, that entire year of working in Taiwan can't count towards my, you work in a country a number of years and you can get residence and maybe eventually become a citizen. Well, that whole year was gone, and Taiwan's government does nothing about it. Now, I could sue, but the way Taiwan's court works, it's a do-nothing government. They would just say, oh, that's right, it was wrong, but then there's no makeup. There's nothing to help. Now, U.S. Congress knows about this type of problem. I've been writing them about this for many, many years. And I've been telling them more about this problem more recently over the last year. And it's interesting because I've seen a number of laws get passed in Taiwan shortly after I recommended the same law to Congress. And it's happened a number of times, like more than twice, more than 3 times I've seen that happen. So I know that Congress is listening, but there have been no changes to substantially help foreigners who are in Taiwan to really actually root out the core of the problem. Now, some of those changes that have happened, like Taiwan, it's like slapping a Band-Aid on a broken arm. You could say that they're gesture laws. They make it a little less unfriendly, but they really don't deal with the problem and make the core issues go away. And more importantly, the foreigners that have been here and have been chewed up and spit out by Taiwan's government does absolutely nothing to help them for their lost time or their lost money or their lost rights or a wrongful criminal record. The government does absolutely nothing to help those horror stories. They just want to make those people go away and forget about them and act like they're not there. It's like Taiwan, if it were a car manufacturer, let's just say, for example, if there were a new car and that car had failed many safety tests, proved to be dangerous, like fatally lethal to drive because of how dangerous it was. If that were proven in road tests, if Taiwan's government were the car company, it's as if they would just sell the car anyway, and then when people die in lots of horrible car accidents, their solution would be more marketing and more advertising. People aren't buying our cars because it's dangerous, so we need to try to sell more of them, rather than fixing the problem and making it safe. Taiwan's government knows about this. I've told them about it again and again. Foreigners before have told them about it. But all you see is more friendly, oh, come to Taiwan, oh, it's a nice country, oh, let's try to have more friends. And this type of a do-nothing government where an employer will hurt someone's rights. My first employer, the reason he said I couldn't have my work permit is he said, this isn't just for you to be in Taiwan and have some travel. See, he was worried that I was just going to go leave him and run and travel around Taiwan, and he didn't care about how that what he was doing would take away my rights, and effectively he would make me into a criminal, and he didn't care about that, only about the little bit that he wanted himself. It's human trafficking. And it's a very similar problem to what the United States is seeing happen with China. The difference between Taiwan and China when it comes to honesty and human trafficking like this, China's a lot bigger, Taiwan's just smaller. Like, that's what's going on. Now, the solution to this problem is very, very simple. It actually seems like it wouldn't even help. The solution is so simple. The U.S. has a friendly trade relationship with Taiwan. So all we need Congress to do is say, okay, Taiwan has trade with the United States. If they want that to continue, when we see a horror story like this, when one of our citizens is mistreated, we're going to send treatment inspectors. Kind of like the UN sends nuclear inspectors. America should send inspectors to Taiwan's government to sniff around and poke their nose in a few places, not too many, ask a bunch of questions, and find out what in the world is going on that Taiwan's government mistreats an American, one of their own citizens, an American like this. And Taiwan would then need to make steps. They need to get out a plan to change the problem, and then prove that it actually changes, and then make it right where they've been wrong to people in the past if they want trade to continue. Now, America could try this with Taiwan. It should do it with any country. All countries should do that with all other countries if they have trade. I mean, America is just one country. America should protect its own citizens. Every country's government should protect their own citizens. America could be a leader in this, and this could help solve human trafficking problems around the world. Now, like, as I say, for 10 years, I didn't say anything about this because I wanted to really understand what was going on and know that, you know, whether or not my specific situation was just an isolated incident. It's not. I've seen horror story after horror story in Taiwan for 10 years. And even last week, I went and talked to immigration at headquarters in Taipei. No change, no listen. They know my whole horror story. They don't care. They don't do anything to make it right. And finally, I just decided I've got to tell people, because if I don't tell my story, then who else are they going to hurt?